the most fearsome alien mercenary. I beg you, never make humans angry. Krivek had always been feared. Across the galaxy, his name meant death, silence, and ruin. Mercenaries whispered it like a prayer, and governments avoided it like a plague. He had fought wars that left worlds in ashes, destroyed fleets that had seemed unstoppable, and survived battles where every ally had died. Yet, despite all his experience, Krivek felt a strange unease as he approached the council station orbiting the bright gas giant called Orcs. The station was alive with activity. Ships of all sizes floated in the docks, and aliens of every shape and color hurried through corridors, speaking in dozens of languages. Krivak's eyes scanned the chaos without interest. He had done this many times before. He had been hired, he had done the job, and he had collected the reward. But this time, something was different. A human ship sat at the edge of the docking bay. It was small and unarmed, but Krivek felt a twinge of curiosity. Humans were not common in this sector. Most alien races considered them weak, new, and untested. Yet, somewhere in the galaxy, Krivek had seen humans before, and the memory made his stomach tighten. He remembered the colony of Terran, a small human settlement on a desert world. It had been attacked by a raiding force twice its size. Krivek had been hired to observe, not interfere. He expected to see panic, chaos, and death. Instead, he had seen humans calmly evacuate their people, organize defenses, and prepare traps. They had lost that day, but the way they moved, the way they survived, had left a deep impression on him. Something about them was different. On the council station, Krivek was met by a group of officials. They were tall, angular beings with pale skin and long, thin fingers. Their voices were cold and precise. "Mercenary Krivek," one said, its tone carrying no warmth. "We have a task for you." Krivek inclined his head. "I am listening." The alien spoke again. "There is a human settlement in the Vera sector. The Council requires it to be brought under our control. They have resisted trade agreements and failed to comply with regulations. You are to ensure their compliance." Krivak's eyes narrowed. He had heard the words before, over and over, in hundreds of contracts. "Compliance," he repeated. "And if they resist," the council member tilted its head, "you are the mercenary, your methods are your choice. We pay for results." Krivak remained silent for a moment. His instincts screamed at him. Humans were not like other races. He had seen it before, and it was still fresh in his mind. He remembered the calm way they had faced enemies much stronger than themselves. He remembered the destruction they had caused in the shadows, the way their minds worked quietly, efficiently, and without fear. "I must warn you," he said finally, his voice low and serious. "Humans are not like other species. If you push them too far, if you make them truly angry, you will regret it." The council member tilted its head again, seemingly unconcerned. "We have heard these warnings from others before. It matters little. Take the contract or refuse and leave the station." Krivek felt the familiar rush of tension he had known before every mission. It was not fear for himself. Krivek feared little. It was the memory of what humans could do when pushed too far. He accepted the contract. He knew he could not refuse openly without risking the council's anger. And yet, as he left the council chambers, he whispered to himself, "I hope they never make humans angry." The journey to the Vera sector was long. Krivak's ship moved silently through the darkness, its engines barely making a sound. He spent his time observing reports from scouts and traders. Every piece of information confirmed his unease. Humans had grown quietly. Their fleets were small but cunning. Their settlements seemed peaceful, but the energy they produced suggested more than mere survival. He landed on the outskirts of the human settlement, a small cluster of buildings surrounded by tall walls. Children ran through the streets, laughing, and adults worked in shops and farms. At first glance, it looked harmless, almost ordinary. Krivek almost laughed at the council's concern. He had faced far worse. Yet he remembered Terran. the quiet before the storm. The calm faces hiding weapons, traps, and strategies beyond imagination. Krivek did not underestimate humans, not anymore. He walked through the streets, pretending to observe, taking mental notes. He noticed small details, the way doors were reinforced, the way supply routes were hidden, the way villagers communicated in subtle signs. This was not a simple settlement. It was a place prepared for war, quietly and carefully. As he continued, he heard voices behind him. Two humans were walking toward him. One was a young man with brown hair and sharp eyes. The other was a woman with dark hair tied back, her hands carrying a small medkit. They noticed him immediately. "Who are you?" the man asked, his voice steady but alert. "Just a traveler," Krivek replied, his tone calm. He studied them without giving anything away. "You live here?" The woman nodded. "We do. Why do you ask?" Krivek's eyes flicked to the man. He knew humans well enough to understand subtle signals. They were cautious but not afraid. That was unusual. Most species would flee or hide. He smiled slightly. "I am looking for someone," he said carefully. "Someone who might be in trouble." The man's hand hovered near his side, over what Krivek assumed was a weapon. The woman stepped slightly forward as if ready to defend. Krivek raised his hands, showing no threat. "I am not here to fight," he said. "I only want information." They exchanged a look. The man spoke again. "You should not be here." Humans do not take kindly to strangers asking questions. Krivek nodded, making a note of their warning. He did not need to provoke them yet. He was here to observe, not to attack immediately. He felt a strange respect for them. Even now, he knew the council had underestimated humans. Badly. He spent the next days moving through the settlement quietly. He saw humans working together with precision, not through orders but through understanding. They helped each other without hesitation. They shared food, tools, and knowledge openly. Children learned skills not just for play, but for survival. Adults trained quietly with weapons, practicing movements that looked like games but were deadly serious. At night, Krivek would sit in his ship, reviewing what he had seen. He sent reports back to the council, carefully leaving out the details that would make them nervous. He could not say openly what he had learned. Humans were not to be underestimated. The council would not listen until it was too late. He also remembered the words of an old mercenary he had met years ago: "Never make humans angry. If they rise, nothing in the galaxy can stop them." At the time, Krivek had laughed. Now he understood the truth in the words. On the fourth day, Krivek met with the young man again. This time the human spoke more openly. "You are not like the others," he said. "Why are you here?" Krivek looked at him directly. "I have a job, but I am not foolish. I have seen humans before. You are not weak. You are not like the others in the galaxy." The human smiled faintly, almost surprised. "And you are not like the mercenaries I have heard about. Most of them come to destroy. You watch." Krivek nodded. "Watching is sometimes more dangerous than fighting. I have seen what humans can do. I warn you, do not let others make you angry. The galaxy will not survive your wrath." The man frowned. "We do not seek war. We do not want revenge. But if someone tries to hurt us, we will not stop until it ends." Krivek felt a chill. This was exactly what he had feared. Humans were patient, calm, and precise. Their anger was slow, but once it burned, it consumed everything in its path. He realized then why the council had hired him in the first place. They believed humans were weak. They believed a single mercenary could intimidate them into submission. They were wrong, terribly wrong. Over the next week, Krivek continued to observe. He noted every patrol, every training exercise, every hidden supply line. He spoke little to the humans, but he listened. He learned about their ways, their quiet courage, and their strange, stubborn strength. Each day, he became more certain that the council was making a fatal mistake. One evening, as he sat watching the sunset over the human settlement, he whispered to himself, "I beg you, do not make humans angry. Nothing the galaxy has seen can match them when they rise. Krivak did not know it yet, but the decision of the Council, the raid they were planning, would set events in motion that would change the galaxy forever. And he, Krivak, one of the most feared mercenaries alive, would be caught in the middle, powerless to stop what was coming. The quiet human world seemed peaceful, almost fragile, but Krivak knew better. The calm was dangerous. The innocence was a mask. He had spent years in war and he had learned to read the signs. The humans were waiting, watching, preparing. They were like a storm gathering far across the horizon, invisible until it was too late. He stood and looked down at the settlement. Children played in the streets, laughing as the sun dipped below the hills. Adults spoke softly to one another, tending to their farms, their workshops, their homes. Krivak felt a mix of awe and fear. He had faced monsters, tyrants, and empires. He had survived wars that had killed millions, but humans were different. Their strength was not in brute force. It was in patience, in planning, in the quiet certainty that they would act when the moment was right. And Krivak, the most fearsome mercenary in the galaxy, understood that for the first time the Council ignored Krivak's warnings. Weeks after he arrived, messages came ordering him to act. The humans had been disobedient for too long, the Council said. Ships were to blockade the settlement, and any resistance was to be crushed. Krivak felt a cold anger rise inside him, not for himself, but for the humans he had begun to respect. He watched the Council fleets arrive from a hidden distance. Sleek warships glinted under the light of the sector's sun. The aliens believed the humans were weak. They thought a small show of force would force compliance. Krivak knew better. Humans did not strike immediately, but when they did, they struck with careful precision. He could see it in their quiet determination, in the way they had built their homes and organized their people. The first strike came quietly, in a way the Council did not expect. Scouts reported that humans had noticed unusual ships in orbit. Patrols began, but they were careful not to reveal too much. Civilians were moved to underground shelters, hidden routes were prepared, and signals were sent across the sector. Krivak observed it all from his ship, trying to remain invisible. He felt the tension rise with every passing hour. Then the Council made their first mistake. They attacked a human farming station on the outskirts of the settlement. It was lightly defended, and most of the humans had already evacuated. The aliens thought the humans would panic. They expected screaming, chaos, and surrender. Instead, they found empty fields, traps, and automated defenses that slowed their advance. Krivak felt a grim satisfaction. The humans were showing the Council what he had warned them about. They were calm, patient, and methodical. The aliens had expected weakness, but humans were waiting. They were always waiting. The Council, frustrated by the lack of immediate results, ordered a full-scale raid. Ships surrounded the settlement, cutting off supply lines. Krivak was given the task of leading a boarding team. He had done countless raids before, and he knew the efficiency of a well-trained force. But as he prepared his team, he could not ignore the unease in his stomach. He had seen humans before, and he remembered what they were capable of. On the day of the raid, humans moved with precision. Krivak observed from a distance as families evacuated through hidden routes. Engineers carried small devices that could disable alien sensors. Children were guided through tunnels to safe zones, and adults positioned defensive structures. It was organized, quiet, and terrifying in its efficiency. Krivak's team landed near the main settlement. The humans did not charge them. They did not shoot immediately. They waited. Krivak thought it strange, almost disrespectful, but he knew better than to underestimate them. He signaled his team forward, weapons ready, expecting resistance. The first contact was subtle. A small explosion disabled part of their communications system. Another device sent a pulse that made some weapons temporarily useless. Krivak's team reacted quickly, but they were already at a disadvantage. He realized then that humans had planned this carefully. They had studied alien technology and tactics. They had anticipated the Council's moves. As they moved deeper into the settlement, humans appeared. Lucas, the young engineer, and Claire, the medic, were among them. They did not fight recklessly. They coordinated, guiding civilians and setting up barriers. Krivak watched in disbelief as the humans moved like a single organism. Every action was deliberate, every decision calculated. They were not afraid. They were ready. Krivak's team struggled. Small traps slowed them, hidden paths led them away from targets, and human defenders appeared where least expected. Krivak realized that brute force would not work here. The humans had learned to defend not with strength, but with intelligence and preparation. He called for a retreat. It was not a complete defeat, but it was the first time in decades that Krivak had been forced to admit that a target was beyond immediate control. The humans had not yet attacked fully, but the message was clear. They were prepared, patient, and dangerous. Back on his ship, Krivak reviewed the raid. His reports to the Council were careful, omitting the true scale of the humans' preparedness. He knew that if the Council understood the full truth, they might panic. He also knew they would not listen until it was too late. As night fell over the settlement, Krivak observed from orbit. He watched humans move quietly through tunnels and hidden paths. They checked defenses, communicated with subtle signals, and ensured that everyone was safe. Their patience was terrifying. They did not retaliate yet, but Krivak knew it would come. When humans acted, they acted with complete precision. He remembered the words of the human he had met before. "We do not seek war. We do not want revenge, but if someone tries to hurt us, we will not stop until it ends." Krivak understood the meaning now. Humans were not quick to anger, but when provoked, they were unstoppable. Over the next few days, the Council increased their pressure. More raids, more patrols, and stricter orders to force compliance. Krivak continued to observe, reporting only partial success. The humans adapted to every move. They learned quickly, using their intelligence and coordination to counter each attack. Small skirmishes ended with minimal casualties, but the Council believed they were making progress. Krivak met Lucas and Claire again, this time under the cover of darkness. He spoke cautiously, not revealing his true intentions. "You are prepared," he said, "more than anyone has given you credit for." Claire smiled faintly. "We have to be. The galaxy is not kind to humans." Lucas nodded. "We do not want war, but we will defend ourselves. If they attack, we will not stop until it is over." Krivak felt a chill. He had fought many enemies, but humans were different. Their calmness, their patience, their intelligence made them dangerous in ways he had not experienced before. He had always relied on force, strategy, and fear. Humans did not respond to fear. They responded to reason, preparation, and, when necessary, decisive action. The Council grew impatient. They ordered Krivak to capture Lucas and Claire, believing that taking key individuals would force surrender. Krivak hesitated. He had seen what humans could do, and he knew this action could provoke a response far greater than the Council expected. He followed orders, reluctantly leading a strike team to the hidden location where Lucas and Claire were staying. The humans did not flee. They did not panic. They waited. Krivak's team moved carefully, expecting resistance. What they found was not chaos but preparation. Defensive measures slowed their advance, and human ingenuity created obstacles they had not anticipated. Krivak realized the humans had anticipated even this move. They had studied alien tactics, predicted likely targets, and prepared accordingly. He felt a mixture of respect and fear. This was no ordinary species. They were clever, patient, and dangerous. The strike team succeeded in capturing Lucas and Claire, but not without difficulty. They had lost several operatives to traps and distractions. Krivak reported success to the Council, but he knew it was only a matter of time before the humans responded. The calm before the storm was ending. Back on his ship, Krivak reflected on the humans. They were not motivated by greed, power, or hatred. They were motivated by survival, justice, and the determination to protect their own. He had faced tyrants and monsters, but humans were different. Their strength was quiet, patient, and relentless. He realized the council had underestimated them in every way. They believed humans were weak, inexperienced, and incapable of organized resistance. They were wrong. Humans were like a river, slow and gentle at first, but capable of carving mountains when unstoppable. Krivek felt a growing sense of dread. He had followed orders, completed the task, and captured the key individuals. But he knew this would not end quietly. The humans would act, and when they did, the galaxy would see a force it had never imagined. Over the next few days, Krivek monitored the settlement from orbit. The humans were calm. They moved quietly, communicated through subtle signals, and prepared for what he knew would come. Krivek could not interfere. His orders were clear, and he had no authority to stop the council. All he could do was watch and wait. He remembered the words of his old mentor. A storm is not judged by how it looks before it strikes, but by the destruction it leaves in its path. Krivek understood now. The humans were the storm, quiet and patient, waiting for the moment to unleash their full power. He looked down at the settlement, at the people he had grown to respect. They were ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in every other way. Their calmness hid strength, their patience hid strategy, and their simplicity hid an intelligence that could not be matched. Krivek had seen monsters, tyrants, and empires fall, but he knew, deep in his bones, that humans were unlike anything he had ever faced, and the council, blind in their arrogance, would soon discover the truth. The calm before human retaliation was almost over. Krivek could feel it in the air, in the movements of the people below, and in the quiet signals being sent across the sector. The humans were preparing, and when they acted, the galaxy would change forever. Krivek whispered to himself again, this time louder. "I beg you, do not make humans angry. Nothing the galaxy has seen can match them when they rise." He did not know what would happen next. He only knew that the humans had been provoked, and once provoked, they would not stop. The council had made a fatal mistake, and Krivek, the most feared mercenary in the galaxy, was trapped between duty and truth, powerless to prevent the coming storm. The humans did not respond immediately. Krivek watched from orbit as their settlement remained calm. They moved about their routines as if nothing had happened. At first, this quiet unnerved him. Most species would panic after a raid, crying out for help or surrendering. Humans did not. They waited. They planned. Krivek checked his scanners constantly. Every hidden tunnel, every supply route, every communication signal was being monitored. The humans had not only adapted, they had anticipated some of the council's moves. Their responses were slow, subtle, almost invisible. He realized that they were preparing, but the council did not see it yet. On the settlement, Lucas and Claire worked quickly to restore their equipment and check their defenses. Every day, they tested the barriers, moved civilians to safety, and repaired hidden escape routes. Children helped without being told, carrying supplies, running messages, and learning skills that would matter when the time came. Krivek had seen many species try to prepare for war, but humans were unlike any he had observed. Their organization was precise, yet natural. They did not need constant orders. They simply knew what to do. Krivek began to understand why the council had underestimated them. Humans did not appear threatening. They did not move with obvious aggression. They smiled, joked, and carried on with simple tasks. Yet beneath this calm exterior, they were calculating, intelligent, and deadly. One misstep from the council and the humans would act. Krivek knew it was only a matter of time. He had fought mercenaries, tyrants, and warlords, but humans were different. They were patient. They could wait months, even years, for the right moment. They did not need to attack immediately. They only needed the opportunity, and he could see that they were preparing for that moment. He decided to meet Lucas and Claire again. He did not approach openly. Instead, he used a hidden path, moving quietly through the settlement. When he reached them, they were working on a small device that could disable electronic sensors. It was clever, simple, and effective. "You are ready," Krivek said quietly, watching them work. Lucas looked up. "We have to be, they will not stop. The Council will keep sending raids until we fight back. We need to protect everyone," Claire nodded. "We do not want war, we never do, but we cannot let them hurt us again." Krivek felt a deep respect for them. He had seen brave soldiers, clever tacticians, and fearless fighters, but humans were different. Their courage was quiet. Their strength was hidden. They did not seek glory or revenge. They simply acted when it was necessary. Over the next few days, subtle signs of human preparation became clear. Small groups moved through tunnels, carrying supplies, planting devices, and testing the limits of the Council's technology. Krivek observed from orbit as sensors failed in strange ways. Communication lines were rerouted, and patrols were lured into traps that caused no permanent damage but taught the Council's forces that humans were aware of every move. The Council grew impatient. Reports of failed operations and strange losses reached the station. They sent more ships, more soldiers, and more orders. Krivek felt a growing unease. Every action they took was being countered before it mattered. Humans were not just defending, they were teaching the Council a lesson. Krivek met with Lucas and Claire again under cover of darkness. He was careful not to reveal his full intentions. "You are patient," he said, "more than any species I have ever seen." "You do not strike immediately, you wait," Lucas smiled faintly. "We cannot waste our strength, we have to be smart, we have to protect everyone." Claire added, "We learn from every attack, every mistake. The Council will not expect what comes next." Krivek realized they were correct. Humans did not act without reason. Every move was deliberate, every decision calculated. They were like water, gentle at first but capable of cutting through rock over time. And Krivek knew that when they struck, the Council would be powerless to stop them. He continued to watch from orbit. Human scouts moved silently through the hills, observing Council patrols. Supply lines were disrupted without anyone noticing. Defensive structures were reinforced, and civilians were trained in basic survival and defense techniques. It was not chaos, it was a carefully planned network of resistance. Krivek began to warn the Council privately. "Do not push them further," he said. "They are not like other species. If you make them angry, you will regret it." The Council dismissed him. "We control the sector," they said. "Humans are new and weak. Your warnings are irrelevant." Krivek knew they would learn the truth soon enough. Humans were slow to respond, but once they did, nothing could stop them. He remembered the words of the old mercenary, "Never make humans angry. If they rise, nothing in the galaxy can stop them." He had laughed then, but now he understood. Weeks passed. Humans remained calm. The Council increased pressure, sending larger raids and more soldiers. Each time, humans adapted quickly, learning from every attack. Krivek saw civilians moving equipment, hiding supplies, and guiding patrols into areas that taught them mistakes without harm. It was clever, patient, and terrifying in its simplicity. One evening, Krivek observed a small group of humans guiding Council soldiers into a canyon. The soldiers believed they were moving through safe territory. Suddenly, devices hidden among the rocks activated, disabling weapons and sensors. The humans did not attack directly. They simply controlled the battlefield, forcing the Council to retreat. Krivek felt a chill. This was not just defense, it was strategy beyond what most species could imagine. He met Lucas and Claire one last time before the humans would act. He spoke carefully. "You have shown them patience and strength. Soon, you will show them what happens when they push too far." Claire nodded. "We do not want to hurt them, we want to stop them from hurting us again." Lucas looked at Krivek. "You understand us better than anyone here. Do you know why we do not strike immediately?" Krivek shook his head. "Because you are patient." Lucas smiled faintly. because we wait until we can win completely. We do not fight for revenge, only for survival and justice. And when we act, we will end the threat once and for all. Krivek felt fear for the first time in a long while, not for himself, but for the Council. They had underestimated humans. They believed small raids and intimidation could control them. They were wrong, horribly wrong. As the days passed, humans continued their quiet preparations. Supplies were moved, civilians trained, escape routes improved. Krivek observed every move, noting the efficiency and intelligence behind each action. The humans were no longer just defending. They were preparing to change the balance of power in the sector. He realized that when humans acted, it would be decisive. They would not stop until the threat was eliminated. The Council would not know what hit them. Every ship, every soldier, every plan would be countered. Humans were not like other species. They were patient, intelligent, and relentless. Krivek prepared for the coming storm. He could not stop the humans, nor did he want to. He had warned the Council and they had ignored him. Now, all he could do was watch and hope that the humans would be measured in their response. The calm before retaliation was ending. Humans had prepared quietly, studied their enemy, and waited. Krivek knew that the moment they chose to act, the galaxy would see a force unlike any it had encountered. The Council would be unprepared, and the humans would be unstoppable. He whispered to himself as he had before, "I beg you, do not make humans angry. Nothing the galaxy has seen can match them when they rise." And for the first time in decades, Krivek, the most feared mercenary in the galaxy, felt powerless. He had fought tyrants, monsters, and empires, but humans were different. Their patience was their strength, their calm a weapon, and their intelligence a storm waiting to break. He had warned the Council, observed the humans, and now the stage was set. Soon the humans would act, and when they did, nothing in the sector would be the same. The humans acted quietly at first. Krivek watched from orbit as small groups moved through the hills and tunnels around the settlement. No alarms were raised, no shots fired, but every action was precise. They were like a shadow moving through the night, invisible but effective. It started with the supply lines. The Council's shipments of weapons and food meant for their raiding teams were disrupted. A transport ship would vanish from scanners for hours, only to be found later intact but empty of cargo. Krivek realized that humans were not only defending, they were taking control of the battlefield without anyone noticing. The first real strike came when a small squad of Council soldiers entered the canyon near the settlement. They believed they had found a hidden path that humans could not reach. What they did not know was that Lucas and his team had set up devices that could disable weapons and sensors. As the soldiers moved deeper, alarms went off only in their heads. Their weapons failed, communications dropped, and they became trapped in a carefully planned maze of human defenses. Krivek watched through his sensors, feeling a mix of awe and fear. He had seen many battles, many ambushes, but humans fought differently. They did not rush in screaming. They did not charge recklessly. They controlled the fight. Every move was deliberate, every step calculated. Within minutes, the squad was neutralized without a single human casualty. Krivek realized that these people were more than clever. They were disciplined, patient, and unstoppable once committed. On the Council station, reports came in. Officers were confused, frustrated, and panicked. "How can humans anticipate every move?" one shouted. "Their numbers are small." Others demanded reinforcements, thinking that a greater force would overwhelm them. Krivek knew it was already too late. Numbers did not matter to humans. Strategy, intelligence, and patience were their true weapons. Within the settlement, Lucas and Claire coordinated the human efforts. Families were moved quietly through tunnels, defensive structures were reinforced, and sensors were monitored constantly. Even children played a role, carrying messages, checking traps, and signaling movements. Krivek had never seen such cooperation in any species. Humans acted as one organism, unified in purpose and calm in execution. The next day, humans disabled several Council satellites. Without warning, the Council's orbital surveillance became unreliable. Patrol ships that had moved confidently through the sector now hesitated. Krivek saw crews shaking with confusion as their instruments failed in ways they could not explain. The humans were not fighting in open space yet, but they controlled the information and the battlefield. Every decision the Council made was countered before it mattered. Krivek met Lucas and Claire again, this time under the cover of night. He approached cautiously, knowing that even his presence was noted by humans. "You move too fast for most species to understand," he said. "The Council will not survive this." Lucas nodded. "We do not want to destroy them," he said. "We want to stop them from hurting anyone else." "When they attack again, we will be ready," Claire added. "We will not lose focus. Civilians are safe and every move is calculated. We do not act recklessly." Krivek felt a deep respect. He had fought in wars that left millions dead. He had led squads that crushed planets. Yet humans were different. They were patient, intelligent, and disciplined in a way no other species could match. He realized the Council had underestimated them in every possible way. As the Council sent larger raids, the humans adapted. Each attack was met with a clever counter. Council soldiers found themselves trapped in mazes, ambushed by non-lethal devices, and led into dead ends. Krivek watched in disbelief as humans controlled the battlefield without ever showing full force. They were teaching the Council a lesson, proving that numbers and technology alone did not guarantee victory. Then came the first real confrontation. A Council fleet moved toward the settlement, assuming humans could not fight in open space. Krivek observed as small human ships appeared from hidden asteroid fields. They were lightly armed but moved with perfect coordination. The Council ships were taken by surprise as the humans disabled shields, intercepted communications, and forced the enemy to retreat. Not a single civilian ship was harmed, and humans showed precision and discipline beyond imagination. Krivek felt a chill. He had seen empires fall, tyrants die, and monsters defeated, but humans were different. They did not attack recklessly. They did not fight for glory. They acted with intelligence, precision, and a calm that made them terrifying. The Council would not recover from this. Back in the settlement, Lucas and Claire coordinated the next steps. They moved captured Council soldiers into secure zones and began transmitting proof of the Council's attacks and failures to the wider galaxy. Humans were showing the truth. The Council had attacked innocent people, underestimated humans, and now faced a response they could not predict. Krivek watched, feeling a mixture of pride and fear. Humans were not cruel, but they were relentless when defending themselves. The Council panicked. Fleets were called back, defenses reorganized, and commanders shouted orders in confusion. Krivek realized that the humans had not even fully engaged yet. They were showing control, patience, and strategy, but the galaxy had only seen the tip of their capabilities. Krivek decided to meet the humans one last time before the final moves. He approached cautiously, knowing that even small mistakes could be noticed. "You have shown them patience," he said. "Now the full strength of humanity is about to be revealed." Lucas looked at him calmly. "We do not need to show all our strength. We only act when it is necessary. The Council has already learned their lesson." Claire nodded. "We protect ourselves, our families, and our people. Everything else is secondary." Krivek realized that humans were not motivated by revenge, pride, or conquest. They were motivated by survival, justice, and the protection of their own. That made them unpredictable and dangerous. He had fought countless enemies, but humans were unlike anything he had ever faced. As the humans prepared for the next stage, Krivek observed fleets moving quietly, hidden strategies being implemented, and civilians ready to play their roles if needed. He felt powerless. He had been a mercenary for decades, feared across the galaxy, but here he was watching humans operate with calm, intelligence, and precision that made him realize he was irrelevant. The humans did not need to fight openly. They controlled information, technology, and strategy. The Council had underestimated them, and the cost would be high. Krivak remembered his warnings, ignored by those in power, and now he could only watch as humans executed their plan with precision and patience. Then the humans struck again. They targeted a major supply hub of the Council, not with brute force but with careful sabotage. Ships were disabled, communications intercepted, and personnel captured without unnecessary violence. The Council officers panicked as their resources disappeared. Krivak watched in awe as humans acted with calm efficiency. It was as if every move had been calculated years in advance. Over the next few days, humans continued their campaign. Patrols were neutralized, supply lines disrupted, and strategic positions secured. Krivak realized that the Council's forces were no longer confident. They hesitated, second-guessed orders, and failed in ways humans had predicted. The humans had not yet unleashed their full power, but what they had done was enough to show the galaxy that they were not weak. Krivak met Lucas and Claire one final time in person. "The Council will not survive this," he said. "You have proven what I tried to warn them about. Humans are not to be underestimated." Lucas smiled faintly. "We do not want war. We want to protect ourselves." "The Council will see the truth soon enough," Claire added. "We have acted with patience and intelligence. We will continue to do so until the threat is gone." Krivak felt a chill. He had been the most feared mercenary in the galaxy, but now he realized he had witnessed something far greater. Humans were not just fighters. They were patient, disciplined, and unstoppable when necessary. The Council had underestimated them, and the galaxy would pay the price. He watched as humans prepared for the next stage of their campaign. Fleets moved with precision, civilians played their roles, and communication flowed flawlessly. Krivak understood that humans did not need to fight recklessly. Their strategy, intelligence, and patience were more powerful than any weapon the Council had. The calm before the final assault ended. Humans had shown control, precision, and efficiency, but now the full force of their preparation would be revealed. Krivak knew that the Council had already lost. They had ignored warnings, underestimated humans, and now faced a species that would not stop until the threat was gone. He whispered to himself, as he had many times before, "I beg you, do not make humans angry. Nothing the galaxy has seen can match them when they rise." And for the first time, Krivak, the most feared mercenary in the galaxy, realized that humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature, patient, intelligent, and unstoppable. The Council had made a fatal mistake, and the humans were about to finish what Krivak had feared all along. The stage was set. The humans had begun their retaliation. The Council would learn the truth in ways they could not imagine. And Krivak, who had once been feared across the galaxy, could only watch in awe and fear as humanity revealed the power he had long warned about. The humans did not rush into battle. They moved quietly, carefully, and with purpose. Krivak watched from orbit, unable to stop what was coming. After weeks of preparation, the moment of reckoning had arrived. The Council had pushed too far, underestimated humans, and now the consequences would unfold. It began with communication disruption. Human teams disabled Council satellites, jammed signals, and intercepted orders. Fleets moved blindly, unsure of the location of enemy forces. Krivak had never seen such precision. Humans did not strike blindly. They controlled information first, then action. As the Council scrambled to understand the situation, small human ships emerged from hidden positions. They were light, fast, and unarmed in the way the Council expected, yet their maneuvers were flawless. Sensors were avoided, shields bypassed, and every attack countered with intelligence rather than brute force. Krivek realized immediately. The humans had not just prepared, they had mastered the battlefield. On the surface of the main human settlement, civilians moved with quiet efficiency. Men and women who appeared ordinary carried supplies, guided personnel, and managed defenses. Children helped in small but crucial ways, signaling movements, checking paths, and keeping communication lines open. The humans acted as a single organism, coordinated without chaos. Krivek had never witnessed such unity in any species. Then came the first confrontation. Council patrols moved into space above the settlement, expecting easy targets. They were met with human forces that had calculated every possible move. Shields were disabled, weapons were neutralized, and the patrols were forced to retreat. No human lives were lost, yet the Council soldiers were shaken, confused, and humiliated. Krivek felt awe and fear. Humans did not kill recklessly, yet their precision left enemies powerless. The Council sent more ships, hoping that numbers would overwhelm humans. They were wrong. Humans anticipated every route, every weak point, and every strategy. Supplies were cut off, communication disrupted, and patrols lured into traps that neutralized forces without unnecessary destruction. Krivek realized that humans were not acting impulsively. They were teaching a lesson the Council would never forget. Lucas and Claire coordinated every move. Lucas focused on strategy, ensuring that each strike caused maximum disruption while avoiding civilian harm. Claire managed medical teams and rescue operations, keeping everyone safe and ready. The humans did not fight for glory or revenge. They fought to end the threat efficiently and completely. Krivek witnessed a human boarding operation against a Council ship. It was a flawless operation. Small teams boarded quietly disabled systems and took control without unnecessary violence. The Council crew was captured but unharmed. The humans acted with precision, not chaos. Krivek could not believe what he was seeing. He had fought in hundreds of battles, but humans were unlike anything he had faced. As the days passed, the humans continued their campaign. Council fleets were neutralized, supply lines destroyed, and communication disrupted. Every move was calculated, every reaction anticipated. Krivek felt helpless. He had been the most feared mercenary in the galaxy, yet here he was watching humans control the battlefield with calm intelligence. Then came the Council's last attempt to regain control. A massive fleet moved toward the human settlement, expecting to intimidate and overwhelm. Krivek watched as human ships emerged from hidden positions, small in size but perfectly coordinated. They disabled the fleet's shields, intercepted communications, and forced retreat after retreat. The Council realized too late that numbers and firepower alone could not defeat humans. On the settlement, civilians prepared for any emergency. Families moved to safe zones, children assisted with signals and equipment, and every human played a role. Krivek observed how humans turned preparation into power. The Council's arrogance had underestimated not just the humans' fighting skill, but their ability to organize, adapt, and respond with intelligence. At the heart of the human operations, Lucas and Claire directed efforts. They coordinated rescues of captured civilians, ensured safe evacuation routes, and monitored the Council's responses. Humans acted with patience and control, striking only where necessary. Krivek realized that humans were teaching restraint as well as strength. They were showing the galaxy what true power meant. Krivek could no longer remain neutral. He had warned the Council, but they had ignored him. Now he acted not as a mercenary but as a witness. He sent messages across the sector, documenting what he had seen. He described human patience, intelligence, and precision, warning other species that humans were not to be underestimated. Yet he knew that words alone could not capture the scale of what he had witnessed. The Council, desperate and disorganized, finally realized they could not win. Humans controlled information, technology, and strategy. Fleets retreated, defenses failed, and orders became meaningless. Krivek saw commanders surrendering, their arrogance replaced with fear and disbelief. Humans had won, not with rage or chaos, but with patience, intelligence, and careful planning. The captured council soldiers and officers were treated fairly. Humans did not seek revenge. They enforced accountability and justice, showing the galaxy that they could be powerful without cruelty. Krivek observed how the humans maintained discipline and order, reinforcing his belief that they were not just fighters, they were a force of nature. After the surrender, Krivek walked among the humans, meeting Lucas, Claire, and others who had coordinated the defense. He felt awe. He had feared humans for decades, yet now he understood them. They were not cruel, reckless, or violent for the sake of war. They were intelligent, patient, and relentless when necessary. Their strength lay not in weapons alone, but in unity, planning, and determination. He addressed a small group of humans quietly. "I have fought across the galaxy," he said. "I have seen empires fall, tyrants defeated, and monsters destroyed. But humans are unlike anything I have ever faced. Your patience, intelligence, and precision make you unstoppable when provoked. The Council underestimated you. The galaxy will remember this day." Lucas nodded. "We did what was necessary. We do not fight for glory, only for survival and protection. The Council learned their lesson without unnecessary destruction." Claire added, "Our people are safe, our families are secure, and the sector is under our control. We acted with intelligence, not anger. That is what makes us strong." Krivek realized that the humans had not only won, they had shown a new model of strength. The galaxy would no longer see humans as weak. They were disciplined, patient, and capable of reshaping the balance of power. He understood fully why the old mercenary had warned him so long ago. Humans were not to be underestimated. He reflected on his life as a mercenary. He had feared few things, yet humans had reminded him that intelligence, patience, and unity could surpass brute force. He had survived countless battles, yet here he was, humbled by a species he had once thought weak. Humans were not just fighters, they were an unstoppable force when pushed. As humans rebuilt the settlement and repaired the damage from the raids, Krivek remained nearby, observing. He sent reports across the galaxy, warning other species, never make humans angry. They did not fight for revenge, but when provoked, they were relentless. The galaxy would learn that patience and intelligence could be more powerful than weapons and fleets. The Council, shattered and humiliated, retreated from the sector. Humans maintained control, but did not pursue destruction. They enforced accountability, showing the galaxy that their power was disciplined, precise, and fair. Krivek watched in awe as humans transformed the sector without unnecessary violence, leaving a clear message. They could protect themselves, and they would act decisively when needed. For Krivek, the experience changed him. He was no longer just a mercenary feared for his violence. He became a witness and a messenger, spreading the truth about humans. He traveled to other sectors, recounting what he had seen. Humans were patient, intelligent, and unstoppable when necessary. He warned that any species that underestimated them would regret it. Centuries later, historians would call this moment the day the galaxy learned the truth about humans. They were no longer seen as weak or untested. They were a force of nature, disciplined, patient, and unstoppable when provoked. Krivak's warnings, ignored at first, became lessons for every species. He reflected quietly one last time on Lucas, Claire, and the humans he had observed. They had proven that intelligence, preparation, and unity could overcome any challenge. He whispered the words he had said many times before. "I beg you, do not make humans angry. Nothing the galaxy has seen can match them when they rise." The galaxy was forever changed. Humans had shown that true strength lay not in weapons or numbers, but in patience, intelligence, and the will to protect what mattered most. Krivek had witnessed the rise of a force that would be remembered for generations, and he knew the warning would echo across time: never underestimate humans. And with that, humanity returned to their quiet life, prepared for the future, respected and feared by the galaxy alike. Krivak, once the most feared mercenary alive, finally understood the truth. Humans were unstoppable, and nothing would ever be the same again.